studio with us, Miss Kathy Marcino. You want to say hi to your people? You want to say hi to the people who are coming to support you?
Hi everyone, thank you for being here. Thank you for having me.
Alright, so if you're not familiar with the OPT, that's OPT, to Serve radio show, what we are here to do is provide resources and information to the community, people interested in going into business, small businesses, entrepreneurs. We want to be able to deliver information, inspirational people, just a wide range of things that could help motivate you to be what you want to be and grow to the point in your business that will help you be more successful in life and also in business. On the other side, people who know me and are affiliated with me in my networks, what I want to do is be able to give you a platform to get your business name out there, tell people what you do, provide a free marketing opportunity for you to create business. But again, it's about the listeners and the community at large. So by me allowing you to tell people about what you're doing and how you do it, it's allowing others to maybe consider investing in it and or consider following in your footsteps. So each week we'll be talking to a different business owner in some capacity. This month is a business theme, so everyone here this month will be either a business owner, have run a small business. It really the sky's the limit with the guests we have. We have some C-level executives coming in. We have a bunch of different people coming in. And again, they'll be sharing what they've gone through, some things they've had to give up in life to get to where they were, and many inspirational things that may be considered when you're thinking about investing in yourself in the way of small business and entrepreneurship. I hear almost every day about people who say, I hate going to work, or I don't want to have a boss, and I quietly say to myself, well, it's much easier to go to work. Owning a business is way harder than going to work and getting a paycheck. It's a non-stop thing. When you go on your vacation, you're still running a business.
Well, vacation.
Yeah, there is none.
Right.
When you're on the plane, I know when I'm on the plane, I have my laptop. I'm paying like $25 depending on what airline I'm flying for the Wi-Fi for 2-3 hours because I have to, not because I want to.
Right.
I'm not like watching TED 2 or something ridiculous. I'm sending emails and I'm doing things so when I land I can actually go and do something before I have to get back to work. And so a lot of times, you know, when people say to themselves, well, this is what I really want to do, I don't think they understand what's involved. And so again, what Opt to Serve Radio will be here to do is provide enough people who have done the things that you've considered, have done, will do, whatever the case. We'll have enough people on here to shed some light on what the good, the bad, the ugly is involved in running a business, being an independent contractor, or what have you. I'll probably chime in here and there, but really it's an opportunity for me to create opportunity for my network and the people that I trust and value, and can share their experiences with you. So, without further ado, I'll let Kathy introduce herself, her business, and what brings her here.
Well, again, thank you so much for having me. I'm Kathy Marcino of KMM DiSC Consulting. I'm a sales consultant, and I primarily help individuals and sales teams increase their productivity. And the way we do that is focusing on improving their communication, enhancing their teamwork skills, and their overall productivity. And I do that using a tool called the DiSC model of human behavior. And
tell me about DiSC. What is it? What does it define? What does how does it help people communicate better, and what does it help them learn about each other and themselves?
DiSC is a great tool. It's been around for over 70 years. It was actually back when Socrates and some of the other crazy philosophers were hanging around. They started to notice patterns.
Wait. Crazy or great?
It depends on who you ask. Well, okay. Great.
Continue.
Great philosophers started to notice that people had patterns in the way they behave. And so since then, a lot of scientists and psychologists started to study that and found that it's true. There are these patterns in people's behavior. So most notably, a psychologist named Dr. William Marston, he started to look at these patterns and came up with 4 different characteristics or tendencies that he believed drove people's behavior and motivators. And he assigned them 4 letters. D, which stands for dominant, I for inspiring, S for supportive, and C for cautious. And what the tool does is allows you to understand your personality style. And in doing that, you leverage those personality traits of yourself and those of others, whether it be a colleague or a manager or a client or even a spouse. And once you understand what makes them tick, you have a more successful relationship.
Okay.
That's DiSC in a nutshell.
Now, because I'm familiar with DiSC,
Yes.
I won't throw you completely under the bus, but what's your favorite DiSC edition? There's many editions. There's DiSC Classic all the way up to the newest DiSC. What is your favorite edition and why?
That's a great question. The latest and greatest that I'm familiar with is a DiSC for health and wellness and fitness.
That's new to me.
And that's probably within the last year. And that, I believe, helps anyone who's trying to live a healthier lifestyle, especially trying to identify what motivates them in order to either start a healthy lifestyle or continue or do something in their lives that require a huge change. And everybody's motivated in a different way. So I think, to answer your question, that's my favorite for right now in terms of how are people motivated.
Okay. So, in essence, if you were to reach out to companies that provide a health and wellness initiative or benefit, this would be something that you would bring to the table, not only for the health and wellness piece, but what other pieces within this profile would they benefit from investing in you to come in and facilitate your program with them?
It depends on who's actually going to use the tool. So a lot of times HR are the folks that I'll deal with to bring myself or another DiSC facilitator in the building, but generally it's another user who's using it. So say it's Vice President of Sales, and it's the middle of the quota. Right now it's the middle of the 4th quarter. And they might be looking at their numbers and thinking, okay, we've got another 6 weeks until the end of the year. We're falling short. Let's get some training in here. Let's get the reps motivated. So DiSC may come in to help in a sales capacity, help the sales reps understand what motivates them, try to take that to their customers, what motivates them. It's all about creating that awareness. And once they have that, they're going to change their selling strategy in order to get to that customer that may not be calling them back, or may not be taking their calls, or may not be promising what they said they were going to do after the last conversation. So you may just, in learning about what motivates a customer, you may know that you could just tweak a little word here and there in your sales pitch, and they're going to hear you in a completely different way, and a light bulb's going to go off. And it's almost as if you didn't have any previous conversation. They just heard you now for the first time.
That's true.
And they go, oh, yeah, sure, that sounds great. Where do I sign? But up until this point, you might have been banging your head against the wall because you weren't getting through to them. They just weren't hearing what you were trying to say. You were saying all the features and benefits of your product, but you weren't saying it in a way that makes them want to buy it. So every personality has a different way of making a buying decision. Long answer to a short question, but
It's perfect. So, what quadrant do you fall in? There's D, there's I, there's S, and there's C. What quadrant do you fall under, and
now what do you think?
why do you think you relate to that quadrant so well?
Squirrel. I fall into the I category,
And I stands for?
and the I stands for inspiring,
Mm-hmm.
but it also stands for illogical. In that, if you think of every personality style, there are a lot of strengths and characteristics that go along with it.
Because everyone's a little bit of each of them.
Everybody's a blend, right? Everybody's a blend. You're going to be more comfortable in one versus the other. So it's nature versus nurture, right? So the way you're hardwired, you're going to have those natural instincts that are going to stay with you for life. I happen to have the I ones. With that come all strengths and greatness with I. We are interesting. We're very interesting. We're very interested in other people, but eyes are, you're very drawn to them. They're very charismatic. You see a lot of eyes, the face of the customer. When you're going to a network event, you're going to be able to pick out the eye right away. First of all, they're probably going to want to talk about themselves. They might not be making straight on eye contact because they're not going to want to miss the person behind you, so you may say, oh, that's great, and they're on to the next person.
Well, I'm glad no one's behind.
No one's behind you. Yeah. So that's a strength, of course, in the selling situation, but pushed a little too far, you see a blind spot. I don't like to use the word weakness, so I'll use blind spot. That's where the illogical piece comes in. It's hard to focus sometimes as an eye. Have you heard of shiny object syndrome? That's where the squirrel, okay, so again, here's a sales rep doing a great job going and hitting all their sales calls that they're supposed to make for the week. Well, maybe there's a lot of follow-up. Well, they're on to the next person. So maybe the follow-up doesn't get done, or the paperwork doesn't get done. Customer doesn't get what the customer was promised. That could be a blind spot for an eye.
So let me ask you, as an eye and a facilitator,
Yeah.
how can you help an eye not get so distracted? What in DiSC allows you to have the conversation with the eye that first allows them to recognize the blind spot,
Okay.
but second, to fix it or adjust to what they have learned and be more productive and efficient?
That's a good question. Knowing the what fuels everyone. The eye, for example, their fuel is people and fun. And so, as a facilitator, and I know my eyes in the room, I know I have to make the material interesting because I have to keep them interested. And as a manager to an employee or a colleague to a colleague, once you know that eye and you know that they need to have some sort of level of fun, not a goofing off, I'm not going to do my job, but just some sort of a level of fun, you know you're going to get better work out of them. So as a facilitator, I know that I'm not going to have a very monotone presentation where I'm just reading the words. I'm going to have stories, and I may have them stand up and do different things and keep them interested. So that's what you're going to do with an eye. And you're going to do that for each of the other four, or each of the other three. So all four have a fuel. So let's say a dominant, their fuel is challenge. Give me the challenge, give me the goal, I'm going to go off and do it.
Give me the facts.
That's it, right? And make it short and sweet, and I'm on my way. The eyes I mentioned is fun and fuel. The supportive type, peace and harmony and kumbaya, they're the ones that love to feel safe and secure, love the status quo. They're not going to be real change agents. A lot of times you'll find an S in more of an administrative role. So when you think about putting a team together, and then the C's fuel is, they have a couple. Quality answers, they're going to like to do the research, and they want to be correct.
So with that, where do you think I fall? Because I know where I fall. On the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team assessment, I fall differently than I do on all the other DiSC assessments. I've taken all of them.
Okay.
And the experts say you shouldn't change from profile to profile, but I've changed in almost every profile, but I have also taken it at a time where I communicated to myself, or maybe I've felt a growth spurt in maturity, or a growth spurt in some aspect of my life that would draw me closer to one of the different quadrants.
Mm-hmm.
So
that would be that nurture piece, or that piece that doesn't stay constant. That's the flexible piece that you're going to see change with your different environments.
So knowing what you know of me, knowing what you know of our conversations, where would you place me? The pressure.
The pressure, gosh.
Don't get it
I've got
wrong.
a 25% chance.
Don't get it wrong. It's not an S.
I don't know if you're just, I'm going to say an IC.
I am a very high C.
Really?
It's the last assessment I took was on the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team, which is also offered through Wiley Inscape.
Yeah.
But I scored a very high C, and this was in 2015.
How about that? Okay. Well, I get some I from you.
Actually, in one of the earlier versions, I hit almost all of them pretty evenly.
Yeah.
So the I is there, the S is there, the D is there. But what I found out in my experience was when I consider things from a team aspect, like the 5 behaviors is trying to draw from you, I fall in the C quadrant. Now, if we were talking about a different profile, I may score differently. So there's some points to me, as I understand, that allow me to adapt maybe a little better than most people pertaining to the situation. So in a team situation, I don't have to be the D. I don't have to be dominant. I'm fine falling back and observing and watching and doing all the small intricacies to get us to where we need to go. But I'm also not the most supportive in that either, because I'd prefer to just get it done. If the team can run with me, then run with me, and if not, I'll see you at the finish line, but I won't forget you.
Okay.
And so when it comes to presenting that data in an I manner, it's not that difficult for me to do that either. Would I prefer it? No, not if it was another person more capable. But would I run away from it? No, I could very well go take care of it. So, with the DiSC assessment, I've been taking them since 2013, possibly. I've taken the earliest one, the classic. That one I scored very high on everything but S.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not super supportive. Supportive is something I have to work at, and most people who know me would probably say I'm somewhat supportive, but it's very hard for me to do. It's like lifting an elephant for me.
Wow.
But you learn things like that from the DiSC assessment. Yeah. You learn to appreciate your strengths, but also learn about your weaknesses, and the point where you can communicate them to people and say, hey, this is where I struggle. This is where I'm pretty good. If you could just cut me some slack here, and I'll work toward living up to the expectations that you may need me to deliver for you. Just give me a chance, and those are sorts of communications or conversations that this can create within a workforce or within a workplace. But they also go home with people. People don't just... Actually, people may be a different letter or in a different quadrant at work than they are at home. Do you agree?
You'll see a lot of the reports that I work with, we do graph the 4 types, and we look at the nature versus nurture, and you do see some changes. We'll like to say, okay, here's when you wake up in the morning, and here's when you go to work. But the core ones are going to stay the same. They may be, a little bit higher, plus or minus a little bit, but they're pretty much the same. But then you'll see other, depending on their role within the organization. If they're a leader, if they take on a leadership role, then you may see their D a little bit higher. But we have a saying that when you go back to your strengths should excite you, but your blind spot should concern you. Which is why I don't like to use the word weakness, because a lot of people say, well, I just can't do that, or I'm all of a sudden, well, I'm not good at that. And that's, with this, that's not true. We're just saying, here's a piece that once you tap into it, once you have that awareness that that's not very natural to you, or and it takes you out of your comfort zone a little bit. Once you bring those skill sets in, it's just gonna make you more well-rounded and more successful in your business and your personal life. It's not just, like you said, you can take this home with your spouse. It's great. My husband, for example, is a very high D. So, I'm very emotional being an I, and sometimes he just wants, I'll have an issue and he just wants to fix it. He doesn't care about my emotions or anything like that, and I'm la la la, and he just wants to fix it. Sometimes I just want him to listen and not fix it. So let's take that a step further for customer service. So say you have a business where you have a customer service line for your products, either online or in a brick and mortar environment, and somebody just wants to call because something was damaged or they weren't happy with their service, and all of a sudden the person on the other end of the line, customer service, is a high D, and this person is an I or an S that is calling the complaint. And all that person wants to do is just fix it, send another blah, 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 very abrupt, very curt, I've got 8 more lines ringing, and I really can't say. That person on the other end of the phone, they're gonna feel very either threatened.
Absolutely.
For an I, very isolated, which is the kiss of death. If you're an I, you don't ever wanna be ignored. And so what happens when that person hangs up the phone? Are they gonna tell other friends this great experience that they just had with this company's customer service? I don't think so.
Right.
So that's just something to think about when you have either a person at your receptionist desk. Who's the face of your organization? Who's the voice of your company? Who do you want to have, how do you want to show up? Not only for yourself, but for your company. So you think about that as you're building a team.
True. Well, 2 things. You mentioned the word concerned a while back. You said something about the blind spots or weaknesses you should be concerned. I'm probably messing that up. But
No,
the
they
word
should just concern you, not
I
freak you out.
I would say the word concern for the I's and S fit better. But for the D's and the C's, I think the word might be motivating. I think you can say a D or a C might view the word concern in a very negative way.
Okay, I see.
Versus
I see where
an
you're going
I
with
or
that.
an S. An S might say, well, I'm always concerned. I'm an
True,
S.
true, yeah.
And I might be able to go there as well. Like you said, I's don't want to be isolated or feel isolated. That's concern.
Right.
A D, if they felt isolated, they may not feel concerned. They may be more apt to be motivated to gain their attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the C's may look at it very similarly, but look at it from a data-driven perspective, if you will. Like
Oh, sure.
How can I get to that level of not being ignored? What process do I need
Exactly.
to follow?
Process, and it's SPO, right? Everything is going to be analytical, methodical, and it's going to take forever. So when
See,
you
as
process,
a C,
as I'm seeing this, and
yeah.
you process a lot of information, and you don't mind being a loner.
No.
In a team environment, people may look at you and they may view you as cold,
Absolutely.
or disinterested, or in a network environment, unapproachable.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not that way. You're not that way
No.
until they get to know you and they say, "Oh, okay, Tyrone just is C, and he's processing." So yes, he's not the first one raising his hand with the solution to this problem. You're working on the solution. You may have it at the end of the meeting, but people may think that you're, not interested during the meeting. So I see what you're saying about concern, and we could swap out different words
Of course.
there. That whatever resonates
But the word
with
concern hit me like a ton of
you.
bricks.
I see what you're saying.
As a C, I feel I'm never concerned when there's a likely way to figure something out. I
Right.
don't think anything is out of the realm of discovery. And so if someone said, well, hey, this is a weakness or a blind spot, my immediate is not concern. It's, well, all right, well, how do I fix it?
Mm-hmm.
What process needs to be put in place? What can I do to do something differently? And
Right.
so with a D, which I have scored as well, it's very precise. I will literally write bullet points. You've received emails from me. They all have bullet points.
Yeah.
I don't write without bullet points. I don't send a single email without a bullet point.
Right.
That's the
You
D.
don't.
That's the D in me. So it's facts. This is what I want, how I want it, why I want it, and it's very specific. How I arrive to that is the C in me
Mm-hmm.
process.
Yeah, that's
why
your
am I
procedure.
delivering this way? But I'm very much a D in a top-down way. When I run a board meeting, I'm all D.
Okay.
The entire way. I don't smile, I don't laugh. Nothing is important except the objective.
Okay.
Every time. We can laugh and joke before or after, but if I'm running the meeting, we need to deliver. And so this is what I mean by, with the team profile, I choose to be a C. I'm comfortable in a C. But in another profile where I'm able to be an individual, I'm a D. And most CEOs or executives are Ds, statistically, as Wiley and Escape have written about for many years. And I think there are real reasons why C-level executives are Ds, but it makes them harder to connect with throughout an organization. And through my experience working with leadership and development, I have to say 93% of all organizations that I've worked with clients, their C-level have been Ds. 93%.
I believe.
It's very rare to get an S in a high-level position.
Well, that's not what to be at that level. I mean, everybody has leadership qualities.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, a D is a natural born leader. They are hardwired to have that goal, focus, that challenge, that let's just get it done. Give me the direction and instructions, and I'm going to take it and run with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're not going to see an S there, for sure.
But what I have noticed, the teams who have been able to create the most cohesion, if you will, have had a mixture somewhere. Maybe they have one S, maybe they have one I. But the point is, and I think more than gender equality, more than all the equalities that exist in the work world that we're trying to fight for every day, I think it's really important because those people bring a different quadrant to the table generally.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're bringing that different quadrant, you're allowing more opportunity for growth throughout the leadership, which obviously goes throughout the organization as a whole. And the equality piece is really important to me based on that fact alone.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding that people have so many different skill sets and ways to bring or approach different things, different topics, different agendas that we really do have to be mindful of.
Your point about putting a cohesive team together, could you imagine if you had a team of 4 eyes? Nothing would get done. You'd have a hell of a lot of fun, but nothing would get done. So, and the same with the S's. The S's, they just keep getting each other talking. And so nothing would get done there. And the D's, you would probably, they would all have a goal. and you'd have to decide on which one. You know, who's gonna get
That
to
would
go
be
first.
that would be a bad.
So that would be crazy. And a C, I'm
A
not sure.
bunch of C's are probably like an IT department.
Yes.
Building mainframe phones and talking to customers. It's a customer service.
And it shouldn't be.
IT is left to be IT. And most organizations that won't communicate.
They don't interview, and when you meet them, they're very, very focused, very myopic, very, and they need to come out of their shell a little bit. It's in there, but
it's pretty much the who, what, when, where, how, why. Exactly how I write everything I do. Who, what, when, where, how, why. Thinking that that's
you did. As you were saying that, I was thinking of that.
How, why. It's process. If
Yeah.
there's no process, it doesn't make sense to me, or I don't want to be a part of it. So as a C, I can identify with the struggles, but I also can say that with work, you can overcome these things.
Sure.
It's just a matter of attention, which C's do have. They just have to learn to want it to be on the top of the priority list and learn reasons why it would benefit them.
Right. Here's what, what do they want to accomplish? Based on their profile, it might not be a very straight line to get there, but they'll get there. But we just have to help them identify why they might be a good fit or not. So a college recruiter that I was working with, we have a teen program that we use, which is great. Because a lot of kids, I have to go to this college because my parents went there, or they have the best program for what I want to major in, but it's across the country. So they're going to apply, and they're going to do all this stuff, but they shouldn't really leave home. It could be a very high S. But their grades are great. This is the program. The campus is awesome. They've got the financial aid. They're ready to go. But when you're a college recruiter and you're working with somebody, you think, okay, I want to make sure this is the right fit for my student. I don't want to set them up to fail. So it turns out that might not be the school, but on paper and in their mind where they see themselves isn't necessarily where they should belong. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So. See,
I think my partner here is an IS. I think she falls on the right side of the quadrant.
Squirrel. On the right side of the quadrant, you've got your people. So you've got your I's and your S's. So the I's are going to be people-oriented, but still task, or still outgoing, and then your people, but then a little more reserved. So you can either be a little more reserved people or a little more outgoing people.
See, S's need a lot of support and pats on the back.
They like to be acknowledged. A little bit will go a long way. They like to know that they're doing a good job. Their blind spot that I think should concern them falls out of concern because they can be viewed as a sucker.
Yeah.
Because what's the hardest word for an S to say?
No.
Exactly.
So my friend here, we'll have to send her some literature about I's and S's.
Okay.
So she can learn more about what that is. Do you want to face the camera and cop up to it?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
It's not a bad thing. It's not
It's
right
not.
or wrong.
It's
It's
not.
Oh no,
just
I know.
That's not.
I'm very aware.
All right, so we'll hit some lighter questions. But before we do,
No.
I need 3 things from you that you'd like your clients or prospective clients to know in terms of why they should invest in DiSC training, and more specifically, you as a facilitator. Just 3.
Just 3. Okay. Well, I would say any individual, and I'll break it down into individuals and maybe organizations, but any individual that is trying to focus on their professional development, whether it be a career change or even within the same company. It doesn't necessarily have to require a change, but just something that they want to work on to better themselves. I think taking a DISC assessment to identify what truly motivates them, what really makes them tick, I think is certainly worth doing. As a team, as an organization, if I were a mid-level manager or a C-suite gal, a lot of gals up there too, I would say I would look at my sales force and I would make sure, do I have the right people in the right role? Because sometimes we were talking about eyes in sales. They may be great salespeople, but they're terrible at follow-through, which leads to bad customer service and so on, and probably a lot of conflict between sales and sales operations. So you want to make sure that you have the right person in that role. So I would say using a DISC assessment to help with that particular scenario would be great. So creating a team environment, and then possibly if there is just a conflict, that people just aren't getting along, or you think you've got the right people, but for some reason they're not gelling, and they need to I don't want to like to say team building activity because it makes it seem somewhat fluffy, but I think sometimes you do have to physically remove the individuals from their environment, take them off site, and really have them get to know each other on a personal level, and I think that also goes a long way. And I think once the individuals see their own colleagues blend, and I have the managers sit there too. It's very level setting. So it's not, the manager's not standing in the corner, like this, going, okay, well make sure you get this one. The manager's sitting right there taking the assessment. So the administrative people, the sales operations, the marketing, everybody's taking this assessment and they're all seeing each other's style in a room, and you see the light bulbs go off and there's aha moments where they say, well, no wonder why they take X amount of time to deliver on what I'm asking them, or no wonder why they, they're behaving, whatever the behavior happens to be. This is just very insightful for a manager and a team to see each other. So
Absolutely.
I think that's my 3. I could give you 33, but I think, at least from my experience,
3 works.
That's what I've seen the most, and I think that a lot of companies experience the same type of situations across industries. So I wouldn't say, oh, DISC is only great for the pharmaceutical industry, or it's pretty much across all industries.
Okay. So, now the easy questions.
Okay.
Who is Kathy Marcino, the person versus the facilitator?
Kathy Marcino, the person. I'm a mom. I have 2 daughters. One's almost 15, and the other one is 8. I've been married 25 years. Just had my 25th wedding anniversary.
Yes.
This is the part where you say I look incredibly too young.
I really wanted to say gross, but...
Okay, so
Congrats.
25 years, so to a D. But that's okay. He keeps me on the straight and narrow. He pulls me down when I start to float away. So he keeps me very grounded. I'd like to think of myself as a very loyal friend. I'm an only child, so I have a lot of friends that I consider as close as family. So that's Kathy Marcino, the person. I'm taking drum lessons. I love to play the drums. Kathy Marcino, the facilitator. My background is in pharmaceutical sales and sales management. So I have a lot of experience with direct sales, with outside customers, with inside customers, with dealing with a team environment, a sales operation environment. So I think I bring a lot to the table with my professional experience. And I breathe this stuff. This is very helping people identify what makes them tick, like you, helping people reach their potential. It's very natural to me, so I don't even see it as work.
Very good. So, what's your dream client? Who's your dream client? What's it look like? What environment are they in? How many people are involved?
Am I allowed to give a real name? Is anyone out there listening?
Maybe.
I would love to have perhaps a large multimedia company that has an external sales force and an internal sales force and a lot of people in between. Perhaps a global multimedia company. I think that for me would be the ultimate challenge, to get engrossed in their culture and be able to help. I can only imagine the different styles and types of people that work in that type of environment, and I would love to be a part of that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, media companies in mind.
Comcast.
Say it again into the camera.
Anybody out there from Comcast, give me a call. Kathy at KMM DiSC Consulting.
Kathy, before we get you out of here, we'll ask you a few more questions. What is the one book or piece of material that inspired you to embark upon the path you're on currently?
Okay. Two come to mind. One is, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, Daring Greatly by Brene Brown.
Oh, I love Brene Brown.
You like that book? That book to me, I can't lend it out to anyone because the pages are folded. There's there are sections highlighted. There's notes written in it. It's become my personal Bible. And the premise is that you want to step into the ring and you don't want to be a spectator. And she talks about being vulnerable and embracing your vulnerability and letting go of any shame. And that's just, that book to me really resonated with me.
Speaks to the right side of the quadrant.
Love that book. So that's Brene Brown, Daring Greatly. And I'm currently reading one right now. The author's name is Jen Sincero, Sincero, I believe, and it's called You Are a Badass. And I'm a badass.
Say it again.
Well, before we let you go and you get out of here, I'm going to give you my book as a gift for coming in.
Thank you.
That is The Light Within Us All, Life Lessons Through Self-Discovery. We'll have you on another day. You can tell me how great or bad it was.
Will you autograph it?
Of course.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Next question. What is the piece of advice you would give yourself today, but 3 to 5 years ago? So let's imagine this is 2000 or 2011. What do you know today that you would tell yourself to get to this exact moment?
This is a lot harder to say than to do, but try not to get hung up on what other people think. It's a professional lesson, it's a life lesson, it's one that I wish I started to do many, many years ago, because personally, that self-doubt and sometimes that, I don't know whether I should say this, or I don't know whether I should try this. Somebody might think that's a bad idea, and so there were a lot of things that I didn't do because of that. And so I would say to anybody right now, just go with your gut. You know yourself better than anyone. You have a unique gift. You're the most unique person on the planet. Everyone is unique and everyone has their own special gift and talent. And go out there and let your light shine.
Good job using the word light. Cosign.
Plug. Shameless plug.
And then the last question before we let you go is, what's one thing or two that you'd like to share with anyone looking to go into entrepreneurship, create a small business, or become a consultant? Understanding that it is not the easiest thing to do, understanding that it does take a significant amount of effort to sustain. What's some words of encouragement you can provide to anyone considering any of those paths?
I think that coming from my sales background, the number one rule stays true throughout my career is know your audience. So depending depending on what you're setting out to do, who's your ideal client. And really know who that is, because a lot of times, especially if you're an I, you can just, in the beginning, can go off on in so many different directions and so many tangents, and you spin your wheels, and you're the only one doing it. So you're doing everything from copying to social media to managing the books, all of that stuff. And that takes up a lot of time. So once you have that focus from the beginning, it really is going to save a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of frustration. So I would definitely give that advice for someone. And also keep in mind, you're not going to make everyone happy. You're not going to have that product or service that is going to be the be-all, one-size-fits-all for every customer. And just know that what you're doing is going to speak to someone, and that's going to be your audience. But it's not going to speak to everyone, and don't let that deflate you. Just know that you can't make everybody happy.
I can agree with that.
And get a virtual assistant, which I just did 6 months ago, and it's changed my life.
Very good, very good. So,
get a virtual assistant.
Another plug, you've read my article. Outsource these things.
Outsource, absolutely, and don't think that it makes you any less or takes away from the job that you're doing. Know your strengths, know what you do well, and absolutely outsource the things that take up the most of your time, because where does it need to be well spent? So invest in that, and you'll see it pay off in the long run for sure.
And with that, if you are looking for an outsource partner, go over to www.opportunitiestiserve.com. That's OPPORTUNITIES, 2, SERVE.com. Give me a call, reach out to me, and we can provide some resources, some information on how to get you and your business up and running in a more efficient way. But without further ado, I'd like to thank you for coming in.
That was my pleasure. Thank you.
Sorry for the technical difficulties, but I think this will work just as well.
Great.
I'm going to urge Comcast, anyone from Comcast, to connect with Kathy. Can we have all of your social media channels?
Sure. It's Kathy with a K. My email is kathy@KMMDiSC.com. Website is same, KMMDiSC.com. You can follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter.